But the boy in there that was talking to him. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Tea Time with Kitty. I'm so glad to be back in front of you all today, and I hope everything works out well with the system. Okay, this is where I want to be. Okay, so giving everyone just a second to get logged in. Apologies for the mishap on last week. Don't know what was going on actually with this computer. I think it was trying to have a a virus on it. So we got it cleaned out and updated, and hopefully it should be all set to go. Um, Trying to recap from last week. So I know last week I mentioned that Shamika had started her job, a job that she pretty much got on her own. I think I had shared that how proud I am of her, um, even with her areas of opportunity. She is so professional and so bright and really knows how to articulate and advocate well for herself. So I'm definitely proud of that. My sister Sharon celebrated her birthday on yesterday. I didn't get to get Nala shout out, but she has celebrated on Thursday that just passed. She celebrated her birthday. Thank you, Chucky. We got Diamond and birthday, who is the 5th, and on the 4th we got Isha, my cousin Michelle, my cousin Richelle. So my cousin Richelle and Michelle and my sister Isha, right? So they'll all be celebrating their birthdays. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Pookie's birthday is this upcoming Monday, and Christian's is later in the month. So again, thank you all so much for chiming in. We did not get to finish last week's topic. We was talking about deaf and being able to co-pay sister. I definitely want to send a prayer to my Freeman family. My childhood best friend lost her brother, and his services is tomorrow, so still praying for that family. And just watching, I don't really watch the news, but just watching all these news breaks of everything that's going on, aside from violence, but a lot of tragedy, deaths, really led me to this topic today, right? So I hope that we can get through with this and get to share everything. Yes, and nephew Dominique birthday is today. Just see him on my timeline too. Thank you, sis. So we're just going to talk about death, and we're going to start off with, truly, how do you feel about death? Like, I am spiritual. I go to church. Hey, real, and it never sits well with me. I know the one biggest thing that I have an issue with is, how when they say reach out to people, they'll be lonely when, everybody stopped coming around, the phone calls stop, just being there for those people. But for me, exactly, sis, that's where I am. So for me, I want to be that person that's constantly checking on you and making sure that you're okay. But the thing about it is, how do you do it when there's always another death? So like, when you are already in that position to say, hey, let me follow up with this person who lost a loved one a month ago, then there's another situation. So you have to go to the other person's side. So how do you deal with it? So you said that you're afraid because you don't understand. And I am saved, and they tell me that I can't be afraid, but I will be afraid, because not so much of that you die, but not knowing where you go. Like we say, God controls everything, but at the same time, we know God is not allowing a 2-year-old to be raped, right? We know that God is not allowing such young people to die and pass on. So really, think about it, with so many people going on, how do you truly cope? Like I've known so many people who have lost their children, who have lost close family members. I've lost family members. I just went to a co-worker's funeral just last week, and it has really been heavy on me because I am not one of those deep people. You get some people that's a little older and they be like, oh, the Lord can come take me home, I'm ready. I'm not one of those. So if you all had to encounter it, how do you keep going? I know I hear people say things like positive notes, like, I'm just, being hopeful about seeing them again. But then we all know that all our family members are not saved. So is that just something that they say to everybody, because just about every preacher says you'll get to see them again. But what if you're not saved? What if that person is not saved? What is really going on? Is there another place? I don't think that we talk about it enough. I think people tell us about it. So you got the preacher telling you how you should deal with it. You got the therapist telling you how you should deal with it. But that is not really how we should be dealing with it. I believe in God definitely, but no one can give me a firsthand account of the afterlife. What happens after, and that's so true, right? And that's what I'm talking about. Like no one, so we hope for it, but really, like, what happens? Like you hear people saying some stories of people was tired, and I guess that's people that's fighting with pain. But right now we're just trying to say, if there's someone out there like me and like Karen who said that it's just a lot, how do you encourage them to deal with, what I'm saying? Like, how do I give my cousin what she needs? Two of my cousins have lost their sons this year. And so how do you continue to get in what they need? Because I know people are close with their children. You know what I'm saying? People, and they always say parents should not have to bury their children, right? But people are really close to their children. So how do you give them what you feel like they need to help keep going on? Hey, Yanni. So any input, like, Karen was truly honest with her stand on it. Is there anyone else, like, like, do you feel like, hey, I'm just ready? Because like I said before, I am not ready, right? So how do you get ready, right? How do you get ready? Y'all remember it was not too long ago, you and Dominique was at Suitland together, right? The unknown is the scary part, and I want this to really be a venue where we talk about it, because when you're spiritual, they got all the answers. And with me, I am a critical thinker, like I think outside the box, like I have answers, I have questions. I mean, I have questions on top of questions. So people tell you all the time where you going, but the whole thing I sit and thinking about in church is, how do they know where you're going if they haven't been, right? So if you've been to Jamaica and you stayed at a really nice resort, you could tell me all about Jamaica and about the resort and what went on. But if you haven't been there either, and that's just a touchy part, how they be so sure, and it's more than just trusting, because all I know is that I birthed this child, I've raised this child, I've seen this child grow. Hey, sis, and then now, what do I do next? And Radiance, I know that you're religious, so maybe you can chime in. But and we get the word, and I've actually heard two different preachers, and this is what made me think even more. So how most preachers preach that God wanted the person, He called them home, and all those types of things they said at the funeral. Well, I also visited a church where a pastor said the opposite. He said that God is not in control of these violent deaths. So when young kids are gunned down and innocent people are killed and all this, they're saying that it's not the work of the God. And so where are you all at with it? Like, what is your belief on it? I just want to hear more from you all. I know I got a lot of people to say that they're not ready. I'm definitely not. I hear some people say it don't matter, and some people truly live their life where they're not afraid, right? Where they're not afraid, because I think that if you're older, I can understand the acceptance. Like, you've lived your life, you've worked your job, you've seen your children be raised, your grandkids be raised. So you can be a little optimistic about going home to be with your king, right? But when you're younger, you feel like it's just so much to live for. Like I know at the funeral I just recently went to, the of my coworker, her 11-year-old daughter was saying things like, she won't get to see me go to prom, just all those types of things. So, and they're really young, losing their parents. So what advice do we have in situations like that? Or do everybody just say, because the one thing I never say to people is, I know how you feel. I do not make that statement. And I talk a lot, and I always have a lot to say, and I try to show plenty of love and support, but I do not know what you're feeling, right? I don't want to feel it. I don't want to leave here. So I don't say that, because a lot of times we say things out of repetitions, like, we just say it because it's what we need to say, right? But we really, really, really don't have a whole bunch of meaning behind it, right? So when you go to someone who has lost a parent, or lost a spouse, or lost a child, those are some of the closest people to you, what are your words of encouragement that you have to say to that person? I don't understand it. I get it really uncomfortable and emotional. I get so, yes, niece, I get so uncomfortable talking about it because I feel like all my life, and growing up in my family, they would say the same that, you were born, so you know that you're gonna die. But when we have a baby, that's the least of our worry that one day we will have to bury that child. When we meet our parents, that's the least of our thought process that we would have to bury our parents. So it seems like we've all received the same information, the same things but we just don't know, right? So then we're just talking about now. I don't like when people make comparisons. Oh, that is so true. Right, right. I definitely get that. Like, who are you to say that with any comparison? Because me and my mom or me and my dad relationship may have been totally different than you and your mom, right? All of the answers I get from elders and spiritual leaders are vague and cliche. That's exactly what I'm saying, Nick. Like, that's exactly what you get all the time. Like, and they want you to operate solely off of what they're saying because they truly don't know. I'm learning that we have to trust God more when we lose family members by death, because He see things we don't. Okay, so you're speaking from a more spiritual level, Radiant. So you're saying that God may have taken a person for a reason. Is that kind of where you're going at? And I definitely understand that principle. But I know one preacher was honest when he said, with all the knowledge I received, with all the Bible reading that I've done, when he lost his own parent, it was totally different than everything he was saying to everyone else. Okay, totally different to everyone else. So anyone else, I want to go into the other part of, like, how do people like truly cope? So hey sister, so if you have lost someone truly close to you, like, how do you keep going on? Like, so do you just think about positive thoughts? Do you seek therapy? Because I know a lot of African Americans don't seek therapy for grief counseling, right? And my job actually opened it up to us, and that's kind of what like really took a toll on me when I did the grief counseling with my job, because it's like, wow, it has been so much over the past year. Like, since COVID, so many people, like, if you go to my church now, my church is like almost empty because so many people at my church has passed over the past 2 to 3 years. I mean, so many people have passed away, right? um let's see, got a check coming in. I'll put it back. Yeah. So you have lost so many people. So is there anyone else that has experienced that type of loss? Because it's different where, have happened, you've had 2 or 3 years to kind of heal. You're actually working through it a little bit better. Is that a little different as opposed to when it's coming back to back? And I say, and for me, it was in my family, it was at my job, it was at my church. So it has been coming in all different ways, whether it's from sickness, from violence, and it has really, really, really had me, like on the edge with like how I really feel about this. Like, do you just try to, and here's the thing. Sometimes I feel like I don't have any feelings of emotion. So sometimes like the thing that makes me grieve the most, and I know just at my little cousin's funeral just recently, the thing that hurt me the most was hearing his mom and his siblings cry out for him. Like, that's what, because sometimes I be feeling like I'm kind of removed. Like, I've seen it so much that like, what is next? Like, what do I do? Right. So when just hearing the way that they cry out in pain for him, just like that really just broke me down. That was the thing that was too much for me. Right. When I lost my parents, I committed to therapy, excellent church and prayer. I think that is very, very, very grounded to be able to have a church home where you're going through, because no one can take care of you in a season as such like your church family, right? It's hard, and you have days when you just don't feel like doing nothing. You're lost, empty, and thank you so much for sharing, right? Because and therapy is a must. That is so important, and people being there for you, to lift you up, to check on you, to make sure that you're good, because they tell you all the time, hey, you have to go. Like, it's to the point now where I even get sad thinking about my funeral. Like, is people gonna show up? Is it gonna be crowded? Like the biggest thing I have an issue with is people just getting 2 minutes, and now some churches do it where it's like only three people can go up or something like that. No, 100 people, 2 minutes, keep going, right? I tend to remember the good moments that we had together, and I tend to reminisce sometimes about it. Like when my grandma passed, I felt a weight off my shoulder. I would be scared something bad would happen. Right. So definitely the therapy. And to her while she was home alone and etc. Okay, so just thinking about that before it happened. The church is definitely a balance, and yes, therapy is needed. So that is very important, because right is I know that you was really close to your both of your grandmas, but your paternal grandma, you were with her longer. So I know that was really important. I lived with my grandparents most of my life, and they passed 8 months apart. Wow. So it was just, so that's what I mean, a scenario of such where do you truly get to grieve, right? I don't know if I ever dealt with it. I avoid thinking about it, and I didn't go see them in their casket. And when my grandmother died, when my mom's mom died, what you saying that, Neek, I was 9 years old, right? And I remember going staring at the casket. I think that was like the closest person to me at that time that had passed, right? So I was staring at the casket, and it was as if I could see my grandma moving, right? And it freaked me out as a child. And I know that I definitely did not go near another casket for like over 20 years. Like I would literally skip the wait and arrive at the funeral just so that I wouldn't have to see someone laying in that casket. I know that my twins, the oldest twins, their mom passed when they were 10 months old, right? And I know they must have been about two. They were probably about two at the time, and their mom came to visit. She came up the basement step. We was at White Owl Way, and me and her would talk about that all the time, like how scary I am. She was scary, right? And I was saying to her, I was like, Brenda, what you doing here? And she was like, oh, I just came to check on my babies. And I said, they fine. She was like, well, I need to see it for myself. So I said, okay, you can see them, but don't you ever come back again. And I tell everybody that, because some people are deep. Like some people tell people to come visit them in their dreams and things of such. I am not that type. Like with me, I'm going to miss you. I love you, but I am not one that needs you to come back and visit me, because I am a scary person. Like, and they tell me, oh, you can't have fear. You can't be scared. Look, this is who I am, and maybe in time it'll get better, but I am real transparent and honest about who I am and where I am at that certain time in my life, right? So, so that to me, so how do you all feel about that? Are you all open to people visiting you? Like, does that make you feel that they are okay when they come visit you? Like, what are your take on that? Because, again, I said I'm scared of that, not a fan of that. So is that something that you do? Like, how do you feel like when people are gone, they're at peace, let them rest? Not a fan of visiting people at the cemetery. So I would go with my mom every year for my grandmother's birthday, because my mom don't drive, right? So I would go with my mom to take her to the grave. I would definitely have to be there for her, go up there, put the flowers up and all that. But I am definitely not a fan of visiting a cemetery, right? Definitely not that either, right? I'm open to visits, and I've experienced it. Wow. So what was that experience like, Nidra? Wow. Okay. My mother visits all the time, but where's always partying in the 70s. Crazy, but she's living her best life in my dream. So that definitely has to be a sense of peace, right? So are you telling her to come visit, or you just know her spirit? Because, as busy as I am, although I don't want nobody bothering me, I see me coming back. Like, if there's a way I could come back and visit, I know I would, right? But like, are you telling her to like come back? Because some people invite it in, right? They want to keep the connection going, right? To invite it in. I have a friend that I went to elementary school with, and she recently lost her son and her husband, right? I think her son was he about 8 or 9, I think, and then her husband. And she lost them together. And every time she says something, all I can do is pray for her. I know it hasn't been a year. I'm thinking it's probably been about 6 months, if I'm not mistaken. But all I can do is send her prayers, or sometimes I'll message her and just let her know I'm thinking about you. I love you. I'm praying for you, because I have to remember for those, remember to pray for those people. Like, I truly have to remember to pray for them. My energy is powerful on my right, and I can hear my children's grandmother always talking to me. Wow. She has even been in my home since she's been gone. Wow, that's amazing. And especially not only that she came to talk to you, but that you're able to receive it. And I know that you and your kids were really close to her. No, but she was a partier. If that's right, definitely right. And it's so great that you're so. What would you say for me? Like, because my mother is open to it, right? And she would say, "Well, it's the living that you should be not we're afraid of, not the dead," right? So is that your take on it? Like, do you just feel like it's just a connection? Like, it really helps you feel like they're in a better place, because you ever heard this saying? I don't know if anybody said, my family has some sayings coming up, and they would be like, somebody's turning their grave. And I think they would pretty much say this of like, if you had kids and when you passed away, your kids started to act up and was, going down the wrong track, and they'll say, "Oh, I know she's turning over in her grave." And so I guess they're meaning that it's not at peace, right? It's not at peace. You remember that saying? Okay, yeah. So it means that they're kind of not at peace with that, right? So with that being said, do that gives you like something to hold on to and cherish, that by them reaching out to you, you feel like it's a connection and that they're okay, right. So I will continue to like pray, like definitely continue to pray, definitely, ask God to, increase my knowledge, because I definitely pray for knowledge and wisdom, and I think that that is so important and so key, because we never know when we're going to lose someone really close to us or how we're going to lose, right? And sometimes we may be in a state where we are not even able to pray for ourselves, right? And that's when we need others praying for us, and that's when we need to stir up good prayer. So meaning that when you're able to do so, constantly praying, constantly thanking God and believing that He'll be able to get you through anything, right? I don't like visiting the cemetery, and I don't want to see their ghosts. Give me a sign or something, but don't want to be scared. Right. So I definitely can agree with that. Show me that you're good, but you don't have to come that close, right? I'm thankful for a connection, and yes, she has reassured me that she is okay, right? Okay. So I'm just thinking, so do anyone need like any type of healing? Any type of prayer? I always try to extend myself. If it's sometimes that you're weary and I don't get to reach out to you, that you can reach out to me. I'm always up for praying, because I'm definitely a believer, right? But I definitely like to have an understanding of things, right? Definitely like to have an understanding of things, right? So that's why I try to share information and I try to receive information, because the one thing that has been pointed out to me and has been shared to me, that spiritual connection plays a really good part, right? Plays a good part. Oh, you're welcome as always. So definitely, because we need each other when going through so many things. And I know I witnessed a lot, like people that have lost a loved one, and not having anybody there, right? Right. And like I said, because I'm connected with a church, with my church, we go to that family, we go to that member's house, we take food, we take up a donation and give it to them. So it's like we're all there, especially the women's ministry at my church where someone has lost a loved one. But then you have to think about it that sometimes people don't have that. I've seen people that had to do it all themselves. Like just recently when my cousin's son passed, I wanted to be there with my cousin. I know I needed to be at her side, right? And my sisters in my circle went and set up the repast, right? So I normally would have been responsible for the repast, making sure everything went smooth with that. But they took care of that for me. And I was so appreciative and so grateful that they got up on a Saturday morning and did this for me. They didn't know my cousin, really didn't know her son, but got up and did that for me, because when you need people, that's why it's so important to do good deeds, because when you need people, just knowing someone is going to be there with you, right? I know, like I don't like to like dream about those kind of things, none of those types of things, right? And so that's why I would definitely stay grounded in church. I will continue to pray, and stay focused. Nathaniel, you got any insight on anything? We, as y'all know, Pookie will be celebrating his birthday on Monday. He doesn't make as big of a fuss as I do, or probably Yanni. He's Daniel's clapping at that Pookie, because he said you don't make big of a fuss, but he's going to be doing some birthday shenanigans this weekend. So happy birthday to you, NL. So thankful to be able to celebrate another year with you, right? So thankful, right? And here's Yari girl coming now, right? Um, and yes, that's him. So anything else that anyone else wants to share as it relates yeah, so I'll be leaving here at 5:41 en route to pick her up. Yeah. We are visiting Radiance Church for vacational Bible school. And it has been going great, awesome. Looking forward. It felt so good to be able to take both of my grandgirls. Nala was engaged. She sat with the students in her class, drawing. Yari went over there. She ate some of their snacks and she came back. She didn't want to stay. And I know she was a little too young for it, but we was just getting really engaged in the topic, and she wanted to talk, so we had to kind of get her away. So I did want to let you all know, for those that was praying for Samonte, he went through his phase. He's back home. We're thanking God for that. We do believe in second chances, third chances, fourth chances, and on, because I was a work in progress, right? And I'm still a work in progress, right? And Dad, you points that out to me and make sure I know and understand that daily. So he will be at church today. Donald is off today, so he'll be at church with us as well today, and it's really good. It's really good, like, even if if you all remember when COVID was going on and my church was closed, me and my children held church in the basement, right? So we sung, we did prayer, we ordered Holy Communion from Amazon. We did it all. So don't ever get caught up in not having time to go to church. If it's Wednesday evening that you and your family want to get together, whether it's virtually, whether it's over the phone, whether it's in person, and just pray, because prayer is so important. Read a word, sing a song if you like to sing a church song like myself, but make sure you pray. It's so important that we come together and form a body, because where we stand together, if just at least two agree, it shall be done. So let's get in the habit of praying. Let's get in the habit of placing a shield of protection over our family, right? Because there's so many things that could have happened to us that didn't, and it's all because of his protection, right? So we definitely have to make sure that we're talking to God and spending time with God. I stopped at 11:11. Yanni got me on this 11:11 thing. So every day at 11:11, I even try to stay up most nights just to remind myself to pray again, right? Just to pray again, because things are unknown. I definitely think that, we know that we're born. It's been proven that we have to die. But I think that it's very important that we focus on the dash, and the dash is in the middle. And that's what's most important about you, right? So if I, don't want to go tomorrow, next week, next year, 20 years, no, don't want, but I do want today that I do go home, that there is something in a dash, like that somebody can come and stand in front of a church, in front of people, and have something good to say about me, something that I gave them, something that I left, right? My prayer would be that somebody will be there for Pookie or Yanni and Don or Shamika, all it's a nice amount to have a shoulder to lean on, right? Someone that they can trust to say, we're going to help you get through this, and be there with them, every step of the way. So I think that's why the dash is so important. I will hope that, when I do have to go on to be with the Lord, that I will have a obituary that's fulfilled, and I ain't talk about no 5x7. I think that's the half a sheet one, like the little booklet. I think that's how I go. I'm talking about like a whole magazine. Like I want the whole 8x10 with some pages in it, right? And that's what the dash is all about, living your best life, because we come into the world expect it, even though the baby comes where it wants to come, but we still expect the date, right? We have no control over when we're leaving, right? So that's why it's so important. And I encourage everyone all the time to live your life. And I tell people all the time, since I know I have to die, because statistics have showed it, it's in the word, I'm going to live. So they be like, oh, you ain't tired, you need to rest. Well, when I rest, I'll have to rest. So I'm going to enjoy life as it is now, right? So I thank you all so much for being my therapeutic platform today, would allow me to talk and express with what I've been going through and what's eating me up inside. And, and I'm continuing to pray, and it definitely gives a balance. I definitely appreciate that. But you all give a balance too, because people is a true natural connection. And as long as we're on earth, we should have some healthy connection with one another, right? Learning how to be there for each other, support each other, love on one another, right? So I have to get ready to get out of here. Yari, it's disturbing tea time, and then I have to go and get Nala, and we have to head over to church. But I want to thank you all so much. Continue to pray for anyone that you can think of that have lost someone that's truly close to them. Continue to pray for me that God will continue to give me the strength and the ability to keep going so that I can be there for those when they're in need. And I just thank you all so much for sipping with a sister. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a good night.